Hello, and thank you for joining us for this Anderson Township update, March 2019. My name is Steve Sievers. I'm the Assistant Administrator for Operations here at the Township, and I'm going to provide you with an overview of a couple of different things here today. First, our current and recent township planning efforts. We're going to talk about private development activity that is ongoing or proposed in the community. We'll allude to some capital improvement projects that are on the docket for this year. We'll also touch on township property and special events. First, for recent and current township planning efforts, there are three that we're going to touch upon. The first is the Anderson Trails Plan update. This is a follow-up to the original Trails Plan that was adopted in 1999. That effort was noted by the state of Ohio and by the county for its outstanding effort to engage public input and ultimately to result in implementation of those recommendations. So over the 20 years, this plan has resulted in well over 20 miles of sidewalk and trail installation in our community. Its last update again was in May 2018. That was the fifth update for the Trails Plan, and this will help guide future Anderson Trails improvements. So there are a number of projects that are on the docket, which we'll talk about here in just a minute, but as we look on the horizon, this Trails Plan and the updates that have occurred in the past and that will occur in the future are used to guide the policy decisions related to the Trails effort. Next is the Beechmont Plan consolidation, similar to Anderson Trails. Our efforts on Beechmont Avenue now for over 20 years have been recognized at state level and across this region for efforts to improve safety, traffic flow, basically improve the economic climate along Beechmont Avenue. The last year's plan was somewhat unique. It resulted in the actually consolidation of several different plans that we had for the corridor and pulled them all into one unified document. This document again will be used by the township and by the state of Ohio and other agencies for guiding public and private investments along the corridor. This also is used whenever there's redevelopment. Again, this plan was adopted back in June of 2018, and it will be used as we look down the road here a bit for the future resurfacing and restriping of Beechmont Avenue as that plays out here in a couple of years. Third is the Anderson Center Station redevelopment. This is the park and ride property at 7832 5 Mile Road. It was built back in 2005 and finished in 2006 as a permanent home for Metro riders that had kind of been moved around the community for a number of years. The effort here is to redevelop the site to still have the park and ride component, and that parking also shares for overflow parking here at Anderson Center. We issued a request for proposals back in early 2018, and after consultation with various agencies, ODOT, Federal Highway, Metro, of course, we ultimately decided to proceed with discussions with Hills Properties. Hills is proposing a approximate 200-unit upscale apartment community that would also contain the park and ride in that building. The development agreement with Hills is being finalized as we speak, and so we look for this project to begin to kind of take off here as we move into the spring and summer months of 2019. So look for more updates on this as the months come. Next, we'll touch on private development activity in the community, and it has been a very busy time, and we'll touch on that here in just a minute. But first, let's look at completed developments that we had over the last 6 months or so. Most of these were all wrapped up in the fall. Winter is often a little bit slower time for a variety of reasons, but as you can see there has been improvements and changes that happened in the corridor and in the community over the last 6 or so months, namely some of the activity in and around Beechmont and 5 Mile, the 5 Mile area, Anderson Town Center, etc. When we look into new construction, these are projects that are kind of coming out of the ground as we speak. The top image that you see there is the Stonecrest Senior Living, which is being built on Beechmont Avenue next to Beach Acres Park, a nearly 900-bed senior housing development. The second image below that is the expansion of the Forest Hills Care Center up on Moran Road. And then at the bottom there you see the image from the Stonegate development there behind the Anderson Operations Center, immediately adjacent to Sem Manor where Stonegate is planning their expansion. Graders is also in the midst of their expansion down along Beechmont Avenue, and there are other projects that are kind of wrapping up and sprouting in the community as we head into spring. Some of those projects as we look to building modifications are what you see here. Those would be changes up and down the corridor along Beechmont, Goldfish Swim School, Grandma's Pizza, some examples of those. Certainly the work that's gone on to schools and with Anderson High School wrapping up, that being the last of the school properties, and their very thorough and expansive effort to redevelop the school sites is now wrapping up with that complex and with Anderson's improvements planned for completion later this year. We commend them on that effort and the work that they've done. As far as Subdivision development, our third kind of pillar on this chart. We've got a number of different projects that are underway. These have been kind of in construction for a couple years. Some of these are now just starting to take off, certainly, and others have wrapped up. So we went through a lull in subdivision development from about 2007 to about 2013. A couple of developments came online right after that and were quickly absorbed. The Hunters Run development in Foxbrook Place. These are kind of the next wave of subdivision developments, and actually several of these are now nearly built out, and others are just kind of starting up that we see kind of scattered mainly in the southeastern part of the community, but also you've got the estates of Chestnut Ridge over in the western. It has been a very busy time as we kind of came out of winter or coming out of winter and heading into spring. And if you've been following our media and other accounts, you'll see there were a number of cases that were for zoning review back in February. The first was Harmony Senior Living. This is at 6201 and 6301 Clough Pike. This was for a new assisted living and memory care facility. That's the image you see on the bottom left. It was proposed or is proposed for the south side of Clough Pike, just to the west of Newtown Road, across from Moats Turf Farms, along kind of Clough Creek and next to the Woods of Turpin apartment community. That development, was approved by the Board of Trustees at their meeting in February, and the next step in that process involves preparation of final development plan documents for that effort to move forward, and that is a nearly 9-acre site there along Clough Pike. The second of which is a little further west on Clough, about a 3/4 of a mile west. This is on as you head down the hill on the left side of the south side of Clough. Towards State Road 32. This was a planned unit development proposal for the area near 5531, 5541 Clough for approximately 63 lots. This development was reviewed by the Township Zoning Commission in late February. You see that image at the upper right, kind of the concept plan there. It was actually denied. There were a number of concerns and issues that were raised, and so ultimately the Commission just decided to deny this application, and we will see what the future holds for that. As we look into March, we have a number of cases that are currently being reviewed by Township Zoning. First of these I'll touch on are non-residential in nature. It would be the Mount Washington Care Center expansion at 6900 Beachmont. This is down by across from Beach Acres Park. You have Raising Canes at 7920. This is the location of the current Applebee's, which is proposed to be redeveloped for Canes. Buffalo Wings and Rings is proposing to construct their corporate office at 8501 Beachmont. This is the current, or what was formerly the Identity Spa and Salon property. So it would be that and the property to the west, right next to Montgomery Cyclery. So those two parcels would be consolidated for the office development to the rear of the site and some sort of retail structure that would be in the front portion of the site. And then Cincinnati Used Auto, the expansion of their current facility, 8260 Beachmont. Again, all of these applications are currently under review. None have been approved, but these are developments that are currently being considered by the Township Zoning Commission beginning here in March. A couple other ones that are also being considered right now by the Township Zoning Commission, and these include two more planned unit developments. And planned unit developments that go before our Zoning Commission are developments that the proposed density, proposed number of units, does not exceed what's allowed by the current zoning, but it is proposed to be done a little bit differently. So it might entail smaller lots, more open space, just a different pattern of development that doesn't provide more home sites than would be allowed if someone were to develop, as we call, a straight subdivision under the current zoning. So the first of these is the, we call it Clough Pike Single Family PUD. This is the kind of northwest area of Clough and Wolf Angle. It's kind of up on the hill, not the corner site, but just to the west along Clough Pike on the north side of the road is a proposed 19-lot subdivision in that area. And then down along 4 Mile Road, on the east side of 4 Mile Road, down near the Winds of Anderson, is a proposed 34-lot subdivision. This is in the 660 area on 4 Mile Road. That would entail again, the current zoning for that site and 4 Mile is for half-acre zoning, so it would yield no more lots. It would just be laid out in a different manner. And the Clough Pike zoning is currently split between B single family, which is 1/4 acre, and A2 single family, which is 1/3 acre lot sizes. So these would be tighter lots and allowing the lake area up top and some of the hillside to be remain as open space along Clough. These again are not approved. They're being considered by the Township Zoning Commission right now. And one thing we've heard is there have been concerns about the intensity and amount of development, and that's totally understood with what we've seen and the intensity that we see when you have 3 or 4 applications in at once. We put this chart in here just as kind of a reflection point. We often use this when questions are raised and kind of provides a little bit of perspective. Hopefully this is legible to you all, but the blue lines on this graph are indication of school district enrollment, so it's not really pertinent to our discussion here. The key one is the orange line, which is the line that goes across the bars there. That is the annual number of single-family zoning certificates that have been issued by year by the township dating back to the mid-1960s. The township, of course, did not have local zoning until the late 80s, so prior to that this was from county records. But you can see a pretty significant spike in the early 70s. In fact, at one point we were in the average of 500 or more housing units per year. That same number of units came back in the late 80s, where we had a pretty long run of 5 or 6 years of home construction in the 400 to 500 range. And then it's tailed off. And as you can see, really in the last almost 15 years, it's generally been between 30 to 40 or so single-family zoning certificates per year. There was kind of a blip there between 2003 and 2007. That's when Eagles Watch and Ivy Trails and a few other smaller subdivisions were developed. But we put this in here more as a perspective that the annual home construction, when you see a development proposed with 19 units or 30 units or more, those generally aren't built within a year period. They're generally spread out over a couple of years. And so this gives you a sense that the development pattern we're seeing recently is actually pretty consistent with what we've had in recent years, albeit there are still concerns and issues that must be addressed with that development. And each site is unique, but this kind of gives an overall picture. Also, again, though not really related to the conversation here, does show the relation to total school enrollment, which has been pretty flat, in fact dropped slightly over the last 2 decades, but really has had a negligible impact from the home construction on enrollment in that area. Okay, let's shift over to current capital improvement projects, and we're going to touch on some work that's happened on Beachmont. Fortunately, almost all of that, actually all of that is done, and then pop over to some other community. First, for Beachmont Avenue, the township's downtown Anderson project did wrap up last summer. This is something we've been talking about for a couple years, and it's kind of set the stage for some of the private development that's happened in that area between Wolf Angle and Asbury Road. The effort here, as you see, was to reclaim some of the shoulder space, to install sidewalks and street lighting, aesthetic improvements. There were some turn lanes that were added, a whole new storm sewer system. So we're thrilled with the way this project has kind of turned out and the staging for private development. Again, this is the before and after. The after shots are still renderings. We'll get some better shots here this summer. But it gives you a sense on kind of the changes that happened there. And the slight narrowing of the travel lanes has had no major impact on travel through that area, but it has opened up the multimodal ability for sidewalks and safer area for pedestrians. And then for the private development activity that's resulted from that, you see a couple of examples here with the shops of Anderson Town Center, which is kind of shielding that parking field back in front of Kroger, and then also across the street where First Financial and the Professional Center of Anderson have gone in. It's allowed us to put parking to the rear, achieve some of the cross-access connections that are called out in our Beachmont plan. So it's served a number of purposes, and we're very happy with the way that project wrapped up. Speaking of projects wrapping up, we did wrap up some amenities or enhancements that went with the Beachmont and 5 Mile project. While the intersection opened nearly 2 years ago now, the other elements, the landscaping, the sidewalks that went out over to Shangri-La, and other improvements have now wrapped up as well. And again, though we haven't done recent sampling, the first 6 months of data that we had there at the bottom from late 17 is certainly is representative of what we're seeing today, with the accidents going down, the delay time going down, traffic flowing more smoothly, and the traffic counts are still at or probably now exceeding what they were pre-construction. So by all means, this has been a success in our minds, with some additional private improvements that'll help to even further free up some traffic flow in that area. Again, last year we had Town Center Way closed for a good portion of the time. The Wolf Angle access to Kroger was minimized. So as those are all completed, this should only make things better. As far as Beachmont safety project, speaking of making things better and improving safety, this was a project that we had been engaged with for a number of years, and it finally kind of started in late 17 and wrapped up last year. This entailed the modification and closure of driveways along Beachmont Avenue, some medians, the turn lane that has been installed up along 8 Mile, new signal improvements, all geared at trying to reduce the number of accidents on the corridor and improve safety, and we're very pleased with how this has resulted and the state's managing of this project, and again, think that this will help to address some of the most significant issues we have on Beechmont, which are the frequency of driveways, or curb cuts as we call them. It's nearly 3 times the state average, but it's dropping with redevelopment and with projects like this that help to make it an easier place to traverse. One project that we didn't quite finish up last fall was our town center way upgrades. Most of this is in the old ring road or service drive that was around the town center, and you see that middle image there of what it looked like before, currently what it looks like kind of now. We're excited that here come April and May, we'll put the finishing touches on this. We've got a final level of asphalt to go down, roadway striping, landscaping, and we'll be out of that area, and in fact pretty much out of Beechmont Avenue for the foreseeable future. So we're thrilled with everything through those projects. So shifting over to Anderson Trails, we talked about this earlier and some of the trails improvements that have gone on. This is kind of what is planned for the coming year. Big project that we have is on Markley Road to connect down from James Hill to Woodcroft. We've also are proposing some changes along Woodcroft to create a walking lane in that area using the existing roadway. We received funding last fall with the Hamilton County Engineer's Office for resurfacing a bridle road, and with that we're looking at installing a sidewalk link from White House Lane over to the new or the redeveloped Johnson Hills Park. We also have a number of smaller sidewalk segments related to some of the subdivisions we touched upon earlier over on Nordike and on Woodruff. And then engineering and planning work continues for a big project on Pattison Road and the Ohio River Trail expansion to the east. As far as the Ohio River Trail, we are still working with the City of Cincinnati to make that connection to the west between Salem and Sutton, and also working with Great Parks to make that key connection from the Little Miami Trail across the Beechmont Avenue Bridge over to Lunken Airport. Those projects probably will be in the next couple of years, but within 3 to 4 years, hoping those full are in place. As far as curb and sidewalk repairs, the township has a very aggressive program again this year. We'll be paving the streets that we were doing curb work on last year. We also have a couple of subdivisions we didn't quite get into last year that we're starting here actually this month and getting back to, and we'll be paving those after we do the sidewalk and curb repairs. But all told, we'll be paving on about 28 streets or so this year, and we'll be doing other pavement applications such as microsurface or crack sealing, etc., on at least 50 different roadways this summer, and we are planning to try to wrap up a very aggressive program to improve all of our township sidewalks back in the subdivisions. We have a couple more subdivisions that are left, and our hope is to try to get those addressed this year as well to remove some safety issues that we see in those areas, trip hazards, etc. As far as roadway repairs, I mentioned earlier about Bridle Road, but the county does plan to pave Little Dry Run in its entirety this year, as well as Bridle Road if the timing works out. Otherwise, that project will go in early 2020. The work on 275 down by Coney Island and Riverbend and Belterra Park continues. This summer they'll actually be shifting the contraflow lane to the other direction, so that'll cause a little bit of change, but that project will continue through 19, and then in 2020 they'll be resurfacing the roadway, and by late next year be done with that major project there. So that's a lot of things. As you see this image, we've had this up here before. Fortunately, just about everything we see here has been wrapped up, and this entailed from 2015 to 18 nearly $500 million of investment. When you drill part of the township, there's about $165 million that went into this area, and nearly all of these projects are wrapped up as well. So we are very pleased with the way this has come out. We're very appreciative of the patience of motorists and our residents as this has happened, the kind of what we've laid the foundation for here continues now to be felt as we see improvements and investment in the rest of our community. Speaking of the rest of our community, as far as township property, I'll touch on the township's green space program like we typically do with our presentations. This program still continues. It was begun back in 1990, and while there aren't currently funds going into this, we have nearly 700 acres in caretaking. We have a couple of different projects we're looking to hopefully move that notch over the 700-acre mark this year in 2019. And of course, a lot of this was recently facilitated by a major donation back in the Ayers Hopper area of over 100 acres back in 16. This continues to be kind of a program that many communities look to and inquire about, and it was a landmark effort, and one that we're certainly known for here in Anderson for our efforts to preserve and improve and enhance the quality of our environment. Again, those are properties that will remain in nature for perpetuity. As far as other elements we've got going on, special events, we came off our 225th anniversary last year. It was a very busy year, but we still have a strong list of activities and special events going on that we're doing, but also the Park District, Anderson Area Chamber of Commerce that they host as well. I always encourage you to visit our website or Facebook page for information on those. And speaking of which, that's the best way to get information from us. So our newsletter comes out 3 times a year, and that's mailed to all homes and businesses in the community. But in the meantime, we post updates daily to our Facebook page and also on the township's website related to road construction, updates, developments, news that we feel that is interesting and of assistance to our residents and business community. So we always encourage you to kind of continue to check us out on those sites. And again, if you can't find anything there, you're always certainly welcome to contact the township offices at 688-8400 or email our staff with any questions that you may have. Again, thank you so much for your time today, for watching with us, and we look forward to future updates.